How significant is the timing of Joe Biden's decision to pardon his son, Hunter? And is it any coincidence that Donald Trump named Kash Patel to be the director of the FBI, and then we get this pardon? Steve Friend is here to break it down for us. He's an FBI whistleblower and the co-host of The Morning Post. So, Steve, do you think that these two announcements were related? Let's start with Hunter Biden.
I think that the Hunter Biden pardon was a fait accompli. Look, for all the talk that the Republicans like to throw out there, they love to call the other side hypocrites. That's the most Republican thing ever. Joe Biden is a communist. Communists are outcome driven. That is their prime directive. We're interested in being something. They're interested in doing something. He was always going to pardon Hunter. And for us to call him a hypocrite here is just a waste of time. I am interested, though, in the precedent that it sets, because the toothpaste is out of the tube. This is along the lines of what we've talked about before with the mutually assured destruction, where the lawfare against Donald Trump and others on the right has always come from one side, and there's just been serve held on the other. This is an opportunity here with the pardon process. I would really like to see day one, Donald Trump walk in and grant a blanket pardon to everyone associated with January 6th. Do that because the government got away from its directive to follow the process. Even for the evildoers that day, the government did not follow what they were supposed to do. Ergo, they're issued a pardon. And secondly, I want to see preemptive pardons issued. Preemptive pardons issued for all the political appointees so that the people who get appointed to those positions don't have to fear an indictment from a future administration, because they go in there and do the job that the American people are expected to see them to do.
I love what you're saying, Steve. I know our own Steve Baker would appreciate that, along with many other people who were unjustly prosecuted on January 6th. Let's talk about, the justice that may be coming now. Kash Patel. What do you think of this nomination, and what do you think we can expect in the coming months?
Well, I've been on record for a long time now of believing that the FBI has to be shattered into 1,000 pieces and scattered to the wind. If there is one person, though, who can possibly make the demo into a Renault, it is Kash Patel. He is uniquely qualified to take this on. He brings a great perspective, being someone who is not just a prosecutor who actually helped prosecute the war on terrorism over at JSOC and saw intelligence and rooted out the corruption when he was part of the Russiagate expose that went on, but he's also a public defender, which is very unique because historically, the FBI director is a federal prosecutor, a career prosecutor, we're assured. There's always problems with that. They don't really know the inner workings. Kash does know the inner workings of the FBI because he saw the problems. And as a public defender, I think he has a healthy respect for the amount of power that is at the fingertips of the FBI, the fact that they're able to take people's freedom away if they indeed make the process, the punishment, that they're able to do that. So I'm really enthused by that. And he's also, in my back channel conversations with him and his circle, he's willing to take up things like, let's get rid of the intelligence apparatus that exists for the FBI. There's no reason they need to be spying on the American people. They're a police force. They shouldn't be a secret police force. He needs to get rid of the quota system, the fact that the FBI is rewarding and incentivizing agents, senior executives, to push on their underlings to go and arrest the right number of people or open the right number of cases so that they can get five-figure bonuses annually. And let's revamp the way that we're doing our hiring practices so that we're merit-based. We're getting people who are capable and competent, are there for the right reasons, as opposed to people who are compromised, know they're really not capable, and they're willing to just follow orders, if not gleefully doing it because of their political ideology.
Do you have any quick thoughts about him being confirmed? You will hear some DC types say, oh, well, this is sort of like the Gates pick. It won't actually happen. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I think that Kash, as I said, is eminently qualified for it. And I just have to point to the last three position holders over at the FBI directorship. You have James Comey, who ran an off-the-books honeypot scheme into the Donald Trump campaign and then later sent agents to go and entrap Mike Flynn. You had Andy McCabe as the acting director who oversaw the Russiagate hoax, the Crossfire Hurricane investigation, and then was then fired. And then you have Christopher Wray, who oversaw the censorship of the Hunter Biden story and has seen pro-life activists, 90-year-old concentration camp survivors arrested because they were praying outside of a baby kill mill. So it's hardly a nonpartisan position at this point. And the fact that Kash Patel is wearing his politics on his sleeve, I think is actually just, it's refreshing because it's transparent. And he's also been behind the scenes and seen how bad the FBI is and exposed what they did during Russiagate.
So if he does go ahead and get to be the FBI director, You said he's going to be able to take it from a demo to a reno. Now, he's not going to be welcomed with open arms in the FBI. We already know that. So how do you expect that he will go in there and get things done?
Well, he's going to have to surround himself with some people who do know about the inner workings here. And there is a small group of people that I'm in contact with that have proffered advice and information and a willingness and an appetite to take this on. And you're just going to have to throw caution to the wind when it comes to the reaction that you're going to get from the swamp and from the legacy media. People are going to need to get comfortable with the fact that there are going to be significant swaths of people who lose their jobs, rightfully so, who work for the FBI, either because they're political activists or they're just compromised. They stood by while there was orders and directives given that were out of step with their oath of office and with their training. They said, I've only got a couple years to retirement. I've got that pension coming. I can't afford to lose my health care. And they just put their heads down, and they were weighed and measured and found wanting in the overall scheme of things. And they are not allowed to hold that badge and that gun and those credentials going forward. There needs to be a significant cutting back. And then even from the final aspect of a bureaucratic, the fact that it's a self-licking ice cream cone, do away with that. Get it back down to the bare bones of doing the will of the American people, and that is to protect them against fraud and force and not go after them and target them for their First Amendment protected activities.
So, Steve, I can't help but think, as I think a lot of people watching are thinking the same thing, shouldn't they have all the suspendables in a committee, a Truth and Reconciliation Committee, people like yourself to come in and to assist in this process of going to where bodies are buried and bringing sort of justice to the purported champions of justice over there? And there probably, I imagine, are also people who are right within that system still who are good people and are, want the same things that you do. So talk a little bit about what the people that need to be marshaled for Kash, if it is him, to do this job.
I think there is a select group, people who are on the outside, and I can tell you that there are some people on the inside because I've been out for 26 plus months at this point, and yet I'm still able to bring information out because there are still moles that I have placed on the inside of the FBI that are giving it to me. There are still people there, and they should be marshaled in. They should be giving the advice, knowing where the bodies are buried, and then if we're going to eliminate a lot of what it does, there's going to leave a lot of that it can do here. And what I'd actually like to see taken up is a significant and serious effort to make the FBI the internal whistleblower police force for the federal government, not just the FBI in itself, to go after not the retaliation or the retribution against the people, but their actual allegations that they bring forward that they're violations of policy or potentially the law. Let the FBI go after that so there can be some real accountability for the people that are violating their oaths of office and then conspiring against the rights of the American people. And if we have that, then there's going to be an effort from more people on the inside that are just kind of biding their time and seeing how things play out. They can no longer afford to be fence sitters. You have to pick your side. You have to either be a force for good or a force for ill. There is no progress to be made if you're walking down the middle of the row of the road.
Listen, if we get the accountability, that sounds great as well. But Kash Patel also has a quote out where he said his plan to fix the FBI is you shut down the Hoover Building immediately. I think you literally open it up the next day as a museum of the deep state and let everybody walk the halls for free. And you leave that behemoth open 365 days a year. So if we don't get the accountability side, that plan also works for me, Steve.
I avow entirely. And then even just geographically, there's a $2.5 billion facility in Huntsville, Alabama. If you want to be in a position of leadership of the FBI and you're not going to be in the field, the small group of people that need to be doing that, I think that sounds like pretty good living down in Huntsville. And if you're not interested in it, maybe that you think Alabama's too yucky for your D.C. lifestyle, then why don't you go back to working cases in Washington, D.C. if we don't just send you to San Juan, Puerto Rico, because that's where we essentially need you at this point.
Well, Steve, if you don't go ahead and run for Florida 6th District, then you know what? If you're going to join Kash in that group in the suspendables, then we're all fine with that too. But if you do so, you still have to come on the show, okay?
You got it. Absolutely. Anytime.